Hey guys, Billy coming at you with a 20 essential metal records that everybody should hear or have in your collection. This is my list. First and foremost, it's my list. Your list will be different. Everybody's list will be a little bit different. I'm by no means an expert or claim to have all the knowledge on all things metal, but I know what I like. So a lot of this stuff is things that I have in my collection, things that I really firmly believe in. I think everybody probably feels that way as well. It's just something that I wanted to do for fun. I've been kicking it around for quite some time. I actually sat down and made up a list of metal records, country records, and just straight up rock and roll records. First off, I want to send a huge shout out to Frank over at channel 33 RPM for the killer swag. Frank has all these killer shirts. He has a killer channel. First and foremost, channel 33 RPM. Check him out. I'll leave a link down below because Frank gave me kind of the idea. He posted a couple weeks ago his essential rock and roll / metal. I think it was top 10 rock and metal albums. So that kind of gave me the idea to start really start doing this and put this list together, which it was a lot of fun. I went back and dug through a bunch of old records that I hadn't spun in a while, and it's crazy how your tastes change over time. For certain records that you may have loved, certain records that you may have just completely almost forgot about. You don't spin that often. Let's keep the comments friendly. Like I said, this is for fun. Please don't make me disable the comments because I love friendly exchanges or friendly back and forth banter. Heck, we can all learn something from one another. Like I said, I just want to I want to stay away from the hateful comments or flame comments, things like that. Any of that will be removed. So don't even waste your time posting it. Like I said, it was very hard narrowing this down to 20. I mean, I could have made it 30, 40, 50, but hell, I could have made it a top 20 of just Metallica, Megadeth, Maiden, Priest, Sabbath. I mean, I could have made a top 20 from just those guys, but I wanted a little variety, so I tried to limit each band or artist to no more than 2 records. I tried. You'll see that there's it was impossible for some, but tried to limit it to no more than 2. Also, there were no live records or comps here, just studio albums in all their glory. So with that being said, guys, let's jump right into it. Coming in at number 20 on the countdown is Danzig with their self-titled album from 1988. This is their self-titled debut. Let's just take a quick look here. Nice killer gatefold. I love Danzig's first 4 albums, 5 if you actually want to count Thrall, Demon Sweat Live. But this is the one that stands out for me, the one I keep going back to and keep going back to. Side A is about as perfect of a metal record as you can get, with Twist of Cain, Not of This World, She Rides, Soul on Fire, Am I Demon? I mean, what a great, those 5 songs just bang, 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 bang. And then you open side B with Mother. I mean, it's just a classic record. All those are killer cuts. And that's Danzig at number 20 on the countdown with their self-titled debut from 1988. Coming in at number 19 on the countdown is from 1987, Anthrax, Among the Living. This is their 1987 breakthrough album. Take a look at the back there, and to me it still stands as their best work, some of their best work that they've ever done. I have to give credit to my sister on this one. She was the one who got me into Anthrax. She was listening to Anthrax long before anybody else that I knew. There would be times I would sneak into her room while she was gone and grab her cassette copy and bring it in and listen to it on the headphones. But then I finally broke down and bought my own copy. The killer cuts on this record, I Am the Law, Caught in a Mosh, Among the Living, and Indians. Once again, it's Anthrax from 1987, Among the Living at number 19. Coming in at number 18 on the countdown from 1980, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. This is the ninth studio album from Sabbath, but it is the first record that features Ronnie James Dio on lead vocals, who replaced Ozzy Osbourne. While initially I'm sure it was hard for fans and critics alike to swallow seeing Ronnie James Dio in place of Ozzy, this album eventually won them over. It still stands as the band's third highest selling record behind Paranoid and Master of Reality. Killer cuts on here: Heaven and Hell, Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, and Die Young. So there you have it. Number 18 on the countdown, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Checking in at number 17 on the countdown is Motorhead, Ace of Spades. This is another killer album from 1980. This was the band's fourth studio album, but it was their first released in the States. Apparently, Lemmy had some mixed feelings about this record because of all the other great albums that Motorhead put out. It was just because it seemed like this was the only one that anyone ever really wanted to talk about. Killer cuts from this record are Ace of Spades, Jailbait, Fast and Loose, and The Road Crew. Once again, that's Motorhead coming in at number 17 with Ace of Spades. Moving on to number 16, we have Helloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 2, from 1988. This was originally recorded as a double LP set. The label decided to split it up into two records, Part 1, which was released in 1987, and this being Part 2 from 1988. Part 2 is considered to be one of the most influential power metal records of all time. You know, I first remember seeing these guys on Headbangers Ball on MTV, and my first memory was like, damn, that kid, he couldn't be any more than 17 or 18 years old singing the way he sang, hitting those notes. It was unbelievable, and it was actually the closest thing that I had ever heard to Iron Maiden at that point, and I really dug it. Killer cuts on here: I Want Out, March of Time, Dr. Stein, and The Keeper of the Seven Keys. Once again, guys, that is from 1988, Helloween, coming in at number 16 with The Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 2. Moving on to number 15, we have Megadeth, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? This is Megadeth's second album and their major label debut on Capitol Records. It's a 1986 release. It's widely considered a thrash metal classic and is a must-have for all fans of all things metal. Love the cover art showing Vic in front of a bombed-out UN building. It's just killer. Great stuff right there. Back has the band members there. Killer cuts on here: Wake Up Dead, The Conjuring, My Last Words, and Good Morning Black Friday. That's Megadeth, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying, coming in at number 15. Jumping into number 14 right here, Overkill, Years of Decay. Released in 1989, Years of Decay is the fourth studio album by Overkill, and it is the pinnacle record by the band. Overkill is an East Coast thrash band when at the time that genre was kind of topped out by bands from the West Coast like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer. But they took the East Coast along with Anthrax and put them on the map. If the Big Four were ever moved up to a Big Five, Overkill would definitely have to hold down that fifth spot. And it's not just my opinion. I believe a lot of you guys feel that way. The killer cuts on here, guys, would be Elimination, Time to Kill, Playing with Spiders, and Skull Crusher. Once again, that's Overkill coming in at 14 with the Years of Decay. Checking in at number 13 is Metallica and Justice for All. Released in 1988, this is the band's fourth studio album, but the first featuring bassist Jason Newsted, who took over after the untimely death of original bassist Cliff Burton. It's just too bad we couldn't hear what Jason had to offer, because we can't hear the bass. With that being said, I firmly believe this is this album's only weak point is the fact that you can't hear the bass. It's loaded with great songs, and the epic single One, which spawned an instant MTV classic, which introduced the band to millions of new viewers on MTV, millions of new fans worldwide. The killer cuts on here are Blackened, Dyer's Eve, One, Harvester of Sorrow, Shorter Straw, and Justice for All. I should just probably name everything on here because it's such a killer record. So checking in at number 13 is Metallica with Injustice for All. Finally making an appearance on the countdown at number 12 is Pantera, Cowboys from Hell. This 1990 album is the band's major label debut on Atco Records and is their 5th studio record. At a time when grunge was rearing its ugly head, Pantera was doing everything they could to save metal. From Dime's opening riff on the title track, your ribs shake and you get punched right in the gut when Phil comes in with his growling vocal right before he smacks you across the ears with his primal scream. It's just killer stuff from front to back. The killer cuts on here would be Cowboys from Hell, Primal Concrete Sledge, Cemetery Gates, Domination, The Art of Shredding. Again, just a classic thrash metal album right here. It's Pantera coming in at number 12 with Cowboys from Hell. And finally, rounding out the first half of this countdown, coming in at number 11 is Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. Released in 1982, Screaming for Vengeance was Priest's 8th studio album. You know, when talking with friends or fans about what would be their favorite Priest album, most guys will say Screaming for Vengeance. Most guys will say British Steel. Some guys will say Painkiller. But either way, one of those three, you can't go wrong. Hell, I could have picked any one of those three, but this was the one that came up most often. This is the one that I always go back to, Screaming for Vengeance. With the success of You Got Another Thing Coming, it solidified Priest's status as heavy metal royalty, and there really isn't a bad track on this record. Your killer cuts, You Got Another Thing Coming, Electric Eye, Bloodstone, and Devil's Child. So there you have it, coming in at number 11, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. Guys, that does it for the first half of this countdown. Make sure you check back into part 2 of the video where we count down the top 10 essential metal albums. Thanks for checking in. Take care. Peace.